Fox Evans, and welcome to episode 2 of Oh My God, I Really Love Books. Currently, I'm trying to read through all of the books contained inside of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere before January, whenever I receive my first box for backing Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I'm off to a bad start. This last week's been crazy, so let me walk you through it.
Friday, April 1st.
Okay, so this is supposed to be the day that my first video released and the day that I started my challenge. I got most of my footage recorded, and me and Dade worked on the video for quite some time, but we eventually had to shift gears and start recording for our newest podcast, Hell is Eternal, which should come out today, April 11th.
Saturday, April 2nd.
So Saturday is actually the day that I got most of my video editing done, but it wasn't until late into the night. I had work in the morning, and afterwards we immediately started working on Stuck in a Corner, a live radio show that we do on Saturdays at 8 p.m. After we got done with the show, Dade showed me the rest of what I had to do for the video editing, and I got to work.
Sunday, April 3rd.
So I finished up with my editing in the early hours of Sunday morning and went to bed around 4 o'clock in the morning as the video finished rendering. Got up in the morning, got the video uploaded before I went to work, and went to band practice for Got Trash after work, and ended up not doing any listening to Mistborn. This was primarily due to the fact that I didn't have access to my Audible account, which was pretty frustrating. I decided to do audiobook format for this first book because it was more accessible to my schedule. However, Audible decided that if I was going to use their platform to listen to the book, they were going to make it extremely hard for me. So after spending like an hour on the phone with them trying to get access to my account, I ended up not being able to listen to the book on Sunday.
Monday, April 4th.
So on Monday, I actually won my battle with Audible and got access to my account, but I did not do any reading, or listening rather. I had work again that day, making it my 7th day at work in a row. I got a promotion, and then after work, we had our D&D session for our podcast that's going to be coming out in 2023 called Penalt Pest and Protection. I just kind of ran out of time and ended up unconscious before I realized it, which is why I didn't do any reading that day.
Tuesday, April 5th.
So I had no excuse for not reading this day. I had work and I had band practice for Fickle Ferret, but I had a ton of free time. But instead of listening, I just took some time to relax. I mean, I am tired. This was my 8th day in a row working.
Wednesday, April 6th.
This was the first day I got any reading done. I actually sat down and read the prelude in the first chapter of Mistborn, and right before I went in for my 9th day in a row of work.
Thursday, April 7th.
So on Thursday, I bought a car that I didn't know how to drive. Stick, standard, manual, 6-speed. And I went through a lot after buying it. I've been needing a car for a while, and I had an opportunity to get one, so I just kind of jumped on it. And then it died on me in the middle of the road whenever a battery cable came loose, and I locked the keys in it in the middle of the street. And it was just a lot to deal with. And I also had work that day, making it my 10th day in a row at work, and the final day in a row at work. So I just really didn't have any time to do any reading.
A few days later.
Over the next few days, the only thing I could think about was my new car. Stuck in a Corner came and went, Got Trash band practice on Sunday came and went, and I just wanted to drive. So I now know how to drive a stick shift, but I still didn't do any reading.
Monday, April 11th.
Alright, so now we finally get to today, and this is the first chance that I'm getting to record anything for this second video. Like I said before, the only reading that I've gotten to do is in the prelude and chapter 1, but I already feel like there's just so much to unpack here. So we start the prelude off, and we are in the countryside, and ash is falling from the sky like rain. We are introduced to these characters called the Ska, who are like a race of slave people, and they are being beaten and abused and made to work the fields. Um, the first half of the prelude is told from this perspective of a like kind of rapey plantation owner, but we don't have to deal with him very long, and he's not very important, so I'm not going to focus on him too much. We also meet these characters called the Obligators, and they seem to be the financial advisors for someone called the Lord Ruler. Not sure who that is. Kind of interested to see what's going on there. It seems that the Ska are property of the Lord Ruler, and they're leased out to these plantation owners, which is kind of sketchy. I'm not really surprised by this. Brandon Sanderson likes to liberate slaves in his work, so I'm sure that there's going to be an uprising soon here in the future. Um, the second half of the prelude is more from the perspective of the Ska, and we get to see just how bad their lives really are. They have, like, all of the old people have to go out into the fields and work too. If you don't work, you get killed or you get beaten until you work. So, like, they have it really, really rough, and they don't, eat very well. They're slaves. So we are introduced to a character called Kelsier, and he is described as a traveler between plantations, somebody who brings news to Ska from other plantations. He's super sneaky and able to get around everybody's securities, and is pretty different than your average Ska, because a lot of these Skas have been beaten down to the point where they don't want to do things that are very adventurous. So this character is covered in scars from head to toe, and they allude to a place where that might be from, but Kelsier doesn't really seem to want to talk about it. So, they just don't mention it. I'm sure that'll mean something in the future. Kelsier seems to be the happiest person around whenever it comes to the Ska. He's smiling, and none of the other Ska are, and they think that's really weird. So I'm really interested to see just how important of a character he's going to be. We get our first introduction of magic powers in this universe in the prelude. Whenever we hear the screams of a young woman being drug off to the aforementioned rapey plantation owner's home. Kelsier starts to burn tin, and that's the only description that we get, inside of his stomach that he ate earlier in the day, and he becomes fueled with power. His senses are heightened, and he's like able to hear and see things like at a higher speed and higher detail. The scene ends with Kelsier walking out into the night, and apparently at nighttime in this world, mists roll over the entire landscape, and the Ska are very afraid of the mist, and they believe that if you walk out into the mist, that your soul will be taken. The very end of the prelude, it comes to the morning of the next day, and the entire plantation where all the oppressors of the Ska were living has been burned to the ground, and all of the oppressors are dead and gone, and Kelsier is nowhere to be found, and the young girl is safe and sound. So we already have the start of an uprising, and we're not even out of the prelude. So Brandon Sanderson's a little bit predictable on that part. So we go into chapter 1, and chapter 1 follows a character named Vin, who is a Ska in the city as opposed to a Ska in the countryside. And it seems that Ska here have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more leeway. She's involved in the underbelly of society, and she's a thief and works with a crew. Chapter 1 follows the story of them doing a job where they're swindling an obligator into paying a man named Cayman, and they're going to be using Cayman's boats to transport people to and from a certain place. Not exactly sure how this is a swindle. I'm sure they'll explain it more in later chapters of the book, but the only way that any of it goes right is because the character Vin uses what she calls luck, and she herself doesn't even really understand what she's doing, but she's able to convince people to do things that they wouldn't do. So like she's able to like bend their minds and make them make decisions that they usually wouldn't. I'm really interested to see where this power goes because I'm sure it has something to do with Kelsier, where she's like eating something and she's burning the materials that she's eating, and that's what's allowing her to use her powers. But she just doesn't know it because she's never been trained on it. So I'm really interested to see what happens with Ben. So at this point, that's all that I've read into, and I'm really excited to get started on chapter 2. And as much as I would like to do a chapter by chapter breakdown of these books, like I just did for the prelude in chapter 1, I don't know if I'm really going to be able to do that because it's just really not realistic with everything that's going on in my life. So I'm going to try and blast through as much of the book as I can before I make the next video, and I'm just going to kind of tell you how I'm feeling, tell you what's been going on in my life, tell you where I'm at in the challenge, and I'll keep you updated, about the challenge. I want to do a more chapter by chapter breakdown, so I plan on revisiting these books in later series so that I can actually go into a detailed breakdown of things about what I think is being alluded to in the chapter, or what I think the character's thoughts, or how I feel about what the character's going through. So if you're interested in stuff like that, make sure you like and subscribe so you can catch that content in the future. For now, don't forget to check out anything that we're doing with FoxxDenn Productions. All of those links will be down in the description below, along with the links to the new songs by my bands Got Trash and Fickle Ferret. So, make sure you check out that stuff. And that's really all I have for now. So, like I said, like and subscribe. And as for me, well, got a lot of reading to do.